Welcome to the Resilience Unlimited Show, your go-to podcast for empowerment and growth. I'm Coach Dr. Lauren, founder of Resilience Unlimited, inviting you to join our transformative journey each week. This space is specially crafted for high-achieving women, specifically women of color, where we can feel seen, heard, and part of a thriving community. This podcast is your compass for emotional regulation, understanding your purpose, and living unapologetically authentic. Ready to invest in yourself? I am back. It has been at least a month and I haven't recorded anything. And a lot of it is just because of life, taking a step back, reflecting. I'm really in a season of my life right now where I want anything that I'm putting out there to be authentic in that time of where I am in my life and in that journey. And I think that that is the best way to interface with the world through my perspective. So, excited to be here. Excited for those of you who are new. I'm Dr. Lauren. If you are not new, welcome back. It's been a month. If you're listening, great. Hit that subscribe button. If you are watching, also hit that subscribe button. If you didn't know that I have a YouTube channel, you can watch me and get to know me a little bit better. So a few updates I want to share. I am now chief of staff or executive assistant, I should say, to the CEO of the International Dyslexia Association. So those of you who know my literacy work, you know this is a big deal. I have been telling family members and friends, 13 years ago when I started my teaching career, I would go to these IDA conferences as a young teacher, taking notes, listening to these keynote speakers and, really absorbing all there is to know about dyslexia and literacy. And now 13 years later, I am basically, side by side with the CEO of IDA and really doing some great work. So I'm excited to embark on that part of my journey, and I can still keep my finger on the pulse by working with students. I also do some work with the state of Maryland to push the literacy initiative as well. So the literacy world for me is definitely a branch of the work that I do, but really the focus of this podcast is really about resilience and talking to women of color so we can really understand how to navigate within this world. But I just wanted to give you all those crazy updates, good updates. It's summer here. So if you're listening to this live, it is June. I'm recording this at the end of June. So school is out, summer camp is happening. I'm mom taxi. It's great, For those moms of you who are listening, you're like, is it really though? But yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have all of these amazing opportunities, and I would not have had these amazing opportunities if I didn't have the courage to leave the school in which I was working at 2 years ago. So I am coming up on going into my third year and in this entrepreneurial journey, and it has been quite a journey. But today I really want to talk more about the word courage. I have found working with clients and really sifting through coaching clients, I should say, sifting through core values, courage is actually one of my core values. So authenticity, curiosity, and courage. And I think courage is huge because it takes courage to do things to change, to move the needle. And I actually, those of you who don't know, I'm an executive contributor to Brains magazine. So if you're not familiar with Brains, it's an online based magazine, and they focus on coaches, health and wellness, all of that. And I was recruited to contribute and write articles that I felt would speak to my audience. So I recently published an article, and I'm looking at my other computer, those of you who are watching. The article was posted 2 days ago, and it's called Navigating Life's Labyrinth, The Power of Self-Understanding. And I talk a lot about Alfred Adler, who was a psychologist who I feel did not get enough attention because I was a psychology major in college. I've never heard of this gentleman, but his theories are so simplistic yet so complicated. And I say simplistic because he really organizes life into tasks. And if you can understand your task and this person's task, you can really find a place to be happy and to have the courage to be consistently happy. But it's when we muddy the waters, it's when we get confused, it's when we take on other people's stress, other people's burdens. That's where things tend to get very resentful, negative, you're unhappy. So take a look at this article. I'm going to actually link it in the show notes here, but it's about a 3-minute read. But what I really want to talk about are some of the key takeaways in this article. And a lot of it is, so there are 2, 4, 6, 7 bullet points. And so the first one is doing the inner work. So doing the inner work is essential. And what does that mean? It means addressing any past traumas, addressing any issues that you just can't seem to let go, and really understanding interpersonal relationships, because at the end of the day, if we're not comfortable in our own skin and with who we are, then we can't be happy and radiate that to attract others in our world, in our universe, in our space. And I think that's a really hard feeling for people to accept, that you have to be in charge of your happiness. You have to take ownership and accountability of all of the things that got you where you are today. And honestly, that has been a part of my entrepreneurial journey. I mean, we had some serious financial hardships. And those of you who have ADHD who are listening, you know that money management is a problem if you have executive functioning issues. So knowing that I was a salaried employee for 11 years, I knew the money was coming in, money out. I didn't really understand the concept of that. But on top of it, I didn't understand the energy behind that either. And so once it became my job to create a business, to create income, to have things be sustainable in my family, it was very stressful. And I had to address my executive functioning issues. Now here I am, this special educator, have my doctorate, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm organized. I got my Post-its, got my calendar coordination. I don't have executive functioning issues. Now I think I was more high functioning in that. But once it came time for me to organize my life, my schedule, my finances, find time for me, find time for my family, for my husband, all of these things. And that's where like my world kept crashing down on me. And I had to look at myself in the mirror. I had to find the courage. I had to find the courage to say, I'm not happy. How did we get in this financial situation? You know what? I got us here. I can get us out. And so I think that's where that inner work is essential. The second point is the interpersonal relationships matter. You have to know who you are and build a solid foundation with yourself. And then you'll have, well, really, all of these are connected, but you'll have the courage then to develop that need and curiosity for the self-discovery. And honestly, most of us are walking around not really knowing who we are. We are just on autopilot. Wake up, fill in the blank with your day and go to bed and do it over again. And you wonder why you're exhausted. You wonder why you're not happy. You wonder why you're not fulfilled. And I actually had to pause this morning because I woke up feeling like I was run over by a car. And a lot of it was because of the taxi service that I'm now providing for my daughter. I mean, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to have 2 half-day camps. And my husband is coaching this week, so he can't help with the travel. So I'm, picking up, dropping off, going here. And then it's still important to me for me to have my time, which is my Pilates. So by the end of the night, when it's time for, me to crash, I'm like, I made a promise to myself that I'm still going to fulfill what I need to fill my cup. So I woke up exhausted and I'm just like, oh my God, I remember living like this for years. And I was in a position that I hated and I was miserable. And I really had to own up and say, how do I shift my mindset? How do I have the courage to take a risk and take a step and step outside of my comfort zone? And of course, this week is just temporary. It's only 5 days. Next week, she's not in camp. But it really gave me some pause to say, you know what? People live like this all the time. Hell, I live like that all the time and had no idea that I wasn't thinking about my mortality. Now, we don't think about our mortality in a sense of how can I be more fulfilled in the time I have left on this earth? Instead, it's I'm complaining about the things I don't have. Why am I in debt? Why can't I have that relationship? Why can't I have fill in the blank? When really it's like, let's do the inner work. Let's do the inner work. Let's have the courage. Let's build that interpersonal relationship. Let's love ourselves. And on top of that, what are your core values? How do you navigate and interface with the world without core values? Well, you don't. You're walking around aimlessly, again, resentful, negative, upset, anxious, angry, all the things. please know that I'm saying all this because I've said this to myself and I've been in this situation before. And a lot of it is when you change your mindset and you understand your core values, you are less judgmental. So for me, if I'm encountering people who I find are very superficial or who are very curated, they only want to show parts of themselves to me, I'm not going to knock them. I'm just going to say, I don't really think that's a person that I could put close to the bullseye on my target because they're not really being authentic. It's not really real. It actually makes me uncomfortable when people are trying to put on a show. There's no need for that. We're all human. We all take a shit, like, come on now. So you have to get to know your core values. You have to have the courage, again, to get to know your core values. And it's really all about simplicity and keeping it simple. So if you're stressed about, I don't know, let's just say depending on where you are in your life right now. So maybe you're helping your parents because they're sick, or maybe you're helping your parents, but you're also a mom and you're trying to navigate this space with your child. Maybe they have a learning disability. Maybe they're just, a teenager and it's just frustrating and you're taking on everybody else's stress. And now I'm not sitting here saying just be selfish and close off everybody, but it's really about setting firm boundaries for you to understand physical boundaries of like, okay, well, I'm done doing this by 6. But then it's also emotional boundaries of, you know what? This person has been living this way for 20 plus years. It's not my job to change them. It's my job to love them and meet them where they are and offer the support that I can and respect that that is my task. And I think that is where the complexities come in with the various tasks because, especially if you come from a very wounded, traumatic background, you might be very codependent or that might be your default. Well, they're not doing it, so let me do it. I know I struggled with that where I'm like, okay, this person isn't pulling their weight, so I'll do it. And then I become resentful when really I should pause and say, as frustrating as this is, that this person is not doing their part, I need to stop and tell myself that's not my job. And how do I reroute myself to feel okay to know that this person might get this task done in 5 months when really it should take a week, whatever it is. And that is definitely a shift. And I think once you make that shift, once you understand your interpersonal relationship, your core value, your self-discovery, then you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel better. You're not going to feel tired and irritable. And it's just going to be a different energy. And I think it's so important for us to have the courage to be courageous enough to say, I'm worth it. And the bottom line is that we can't blame and shame other people because really that's a projection. You're deflecting. When really the hard part, and this is, where some people are not okay with this, is you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what did I do to get myself here? And that could be a positive. I look back at me earning 2 track scholarships when I was 18 years old to 2 Division I schools. And I could look back at myself and say, how did I get myself here? I didn't wake up and that shit happened. I worked my ass off in high school and my mom was my coach and I had a college coach that was coaching her, that was coaching, my track team, and we won states and all this, but I was offered 2 Division I track scholarships, fully paid. And it took work to get there. And it's the same thing. When something bad is happening, like I said, the financial hardships. Well, how did I get myself here? Well, I got myself here because I didn't plan. I got myself here because I was very impetuous and impulsive. I didn't like where I was. I wasn't happy. And that's another thing too. When we are unhappy, we are susceptible for scams. We're susceptible for things that look too good to be true. And then once we are on that journey, we realized I don't really think that's what I wanted. The amount of times that I've been scammed, I should probably do a podcast episode on that, and it's because people are selling an idea. But here's the thing, doing the inner work and becoming the best version of yourself can't be sold to you in a 3-month package, can't be sold to you and you'll make 10K months in your business. Like that's bullshit. It's bullshit. And I've been there and I've lost thousands of dollars listening to losers like that. Actually, I shouldn't call them losers because at that time in my life, I was a loser because I was buying into what they were selling me, which is bullshit. And that's why you need to know your core values. I didn't know my core values then. I was aligning myself with people who were all about the money, did not care about serving, did not care about community, did not care about authenticity. It was, I don't even know what core values scammers follow. They probably don't have any damn core values. But it's so critical to understand and dig deep in that interpersonal relationship. So I'm going to leave it there because I want these to be short and I haven't been on here in a good month. So hopefully you took away some nuggets here. I'm going to link my article in the show notes. So check it out. Again, it's a 3-minute read. I also want to share that I am reading a new book. Or I shouldn't say read because I do more audiobook than anything, but I want to share this with you guys because one of my goals was to listen to 12 books this year. And I have really evolved the kinds of books that I'm reading. You know, I wanted to read more about business when I started this goal in January, but it has really turned more into a self-discovery journey. So the book that I'm reading now is called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. It's a 10-hour audiobook and it really gives you some things to think about. And I highly recommend it. If you have Spotify Premium or anything like that, you know, listen to it. It does require you to kind of pause and scratch your head a little bit. But these questions keep you in, you know, keep things in the forefront, you know, puts things out there for you to say, like, let me get out of my head. Let me actually figure out how to have the courage to be happy. 2 other books I want to recommend are The Courage to Be Happy. And that is by, I'm going to butcher his name, but it's a Japanese author. And this is where I learned about Alfred Adler and the Adlerian psychology. So there are 2 books by Ichiro. I think that's how you pronounce it. I totally butchered it, but The Courage to Be Happy and The Courage to Be Disliked. And phenomenal books that really gets you thinking. And if you listen to it, it's very entertaining because they call the kid a youth. He's like in his 20s. And then there's an older guy who reminds me of like Dumbledore from Harry Potter with that beard. I think that was Dumbledore, the old white guy. So that's what it reminds me of. And it's like this old guy talking to this younger guy and they're just quarreling back and forth, but it is a very powerful book and it really gets you thinking. So if you're all about curiosity and having the courage to really dig deep and figure out your self-discovery journey, I would definitely check out those books. So I'll link those in the show notes as well. All right, that's all I've got for you guys. Hopefully I'll be back in a week or 2. If not, maybe you'll see me in a month. But stay resilient. Thank you for joining us this week on the Resilience Unlimited show. Be sure to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. See you next week, divas. And don't forget, stay resilient.